start off with the reports from early that Russia may have fired an intercontinental ballistic missile into Ukraine. Now, that's not confirmed. It is, I think, maybe disputed. But your view on the significance of that, if that's the case?
Well, I think it's very significant. There's messages being sent by the platform or the instrument being used. In this case, what looks like an ICBM. We do have to get it confirmed, but it's something that is meant to send a message to Donald Trump as well as to the West and to NATO. The message from Putin is that he's really pissed off, if you don't mind me saying, at what's happening. The release of Storm Shadow, of the ATACMS, he's upset by that. And it's something that he is putting his finger in the chest of the West saying, I'm really upset about this. Don't start crossing me. And we do that sometimes when we fly a B-52 bomber over the Baltic. ICBMs are meant for nuclear strategic exchange with the United States. That's a big deal. B-52 is meant for the same thing for us. So when we fly, that's sending a signal to others too.
Yeah, I mean, he has been warning of a nuclear retaliation for weeks, for months. And if this turns out to be an ICBM, you could put it in the same category. But an ICBM, like an aircraft, is a vehicle. It's not a nuclear-armed weapon. Does it make it any more likely that those threats should be taken very seriously?
I think all of his threats should be taken seriously. We cannot underestimate what he's capable of doing, and so we have to take it seriously. But we can't be afraid of him. We can't shape what we need to do from fears. It wasn't a nuclear warhead. It was conventional warhead. I think I saw something somewhere saying it was an experimental missile, but whatever. He's upping the ante here, and we have to take that seriously, but we have to press ahead.
All right. Now, meanwhile, the US and Britain have fired longer-range missiles into Russian territory. What's your take on the particular contribution that would make to the war on Ukraine's side?
Well, I think it's a very important contribution, particularly because the Russians are massing their forces to take Kursk back. That part of Kursk that's now held by Ukraine, that's where the North Korean troops are as well. So I think there's a message to North Korea that they're now in the danger zone. But most important is to have a big offensive into Kursk. They need to have a lot of logistics. And these ATACMS missiles, Storm Shadow as well, can be used to hit communications hubs. It can be used to hit logistics, all the things that Russian troops will need to back up some type of thrust into that Kursk area. And Storm Shadow, I saw, went in up against the communications hub. So that's exactly where you want to use it, is to strike at those logistics behind the lines, as well as troop concentrations. And that's where the North Koreans might find an ATACMS or a Storm Shadow coming down on their head.
Right. I mean, I guess maybe we don't know the answer to this next question, but maybe you're in a better position to give an educated guess than most of us. When Donald Trump becomes president in January, after the inauguration of a new president, how do you think he'll deal with what he inherits when it comes to this policy of allowing these American and British longer-range missiles to be fired directly into Russia?
Well, we're all sitting, like you said, waiting to see what he might come up with. I think some things we know is that, number one, he'll be the one making the decision. It's not going to be his staff. It won't be his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. It'll come from Trump himself.
Is it impossible to guess how he'll deal with it?
Well, I'll give you a guess. I think what we're going to see is he's going to begin to pull back depending on his personal relationship with Putin. If he feels that pulling back will give him some leverage over Putin, if that will give him some type of transactional hand to play with Putin, then he'll do that. But he's not going to do anything for free. He won't go and just say, well, I'm going to pull our assistance away from Ukraine because I said that during the campaign. He'll want to get something from the Russians for that. Yeah. It'll be part of a deal. So I think what's going to happen is quicker than he might expect. As he deals with these issues that you've raised, he's going to have to make a broader decision about a possible deal over Ukraine, his relationship with Putin, because those decisions will impact that. So he can't exactly come in and just make a decision off the top of his head without understanding that it ripples into how Putin will look on him. Yeah. It ripples into what might be good to have on the table during a negotiation. So there's a lot going on that will make this a very complex for Donald Trump.
Yeah. Is it your assumption, Jim, that we are heading into a year in which those negotiations will will take place.
Well, it looks like that to me because, within days of his election, suddenly coming out of the woodwork were all these ideas for a deal. Trial balloons were being lofted in Washington. His transition team was talking about Ukraine neutrality and this kind of thing. It sounds like to me there's phone calls being made behind the scenes. And just to feel out the Russians, and the Russians are responding. And
Well, it's denied on the Trump side that he's had any contact with Putin.
it's denied by Putin as well. But those are the two great men might not have spoken, but maybe their staffs did.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're speaking through public announcements or something along those lines. But it leads me to think that they're going to start talking about a deal pretty soon. Trump said that he could fix this within 24 hours and that he would do it early in his administration. Well, that's ridiculous. It's not going to be 24 hours, but it could be they're going to begin negotiations earlier than one might think. And it could be that the negotiations will be between Putin and Trump to begin with.
Right.
It's not going to be the peace talks at Versailles or the Paris Vietnam peace talks. It could be something we haven't seen before, where it's going to be between those two, and it might be Zelensky will find himself in a corner because of the way they approach negotiations.
Are you one of those, it doesn't sound as if you are, but are you one of those who take the view that Donald Trump is simply in thrall to Vladimir Putin and inclined to give him at least a lot of what he wants?
I think he is enthralled. I think he likes to be around strong men. He likes to be around Erdogan or Kim, from North Korea, or Orban, if you will. He likes that, and I think he particularly likes making deals that are big deals, arms control deals, maybe something dealing with nuclear weapons or something. That's what he likes.
That doesn't sound very promising from Ukraine's point of view.
No, because it will be at their expense, I think. I think if he's going to press ahead on negotiations and try to do something with Putin that gives him a great photo op and this type of thing, it won't be something that'll be easy for Ukraine to swallow. But I think if that's going to be Trump's approach, Zelensky had better watch out.
Right. Now, we also see another story today. The International Criminal Court has issued warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu and his former defense minister, Yoav Gallant, as well as a former Hamas commander, suggestions that he may be dead. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's very interesting that the ICC ruling has really upset the Republicans and the Trump people because, the United States has never signed on to the ICC. That was not done. It was George W. Bush administration where the feeling was that this could be used against the United States, that nations might file something. This was during the War on Terror, might file charges against an American soldier or something along those lines based on what might have happened in Afghanistan or Iraq. So we didn't sign on to that. And there have been lawsuits that have been filed against, I think it was Don Rumsfeld, former Secretary of Defense, had some suits. So the Republicans are upset, and the Republicans are saying this is ridiculous. This is an attack on a nation that's defending itself. So the U.S. doesn't support it, but I think the most of the international community does.
Yes.
And so they're going to have to handle this one way or another.
And just the other day, the United States vetoed a resolution at the UN Security Council calling for a ceasefire. The given reason was that the resolution did not call for the immediate release of the hostages held by Hamas. But it does leave the U.S., in that respect, as you know, that's out of step with wider world opinion.
Well, it does. It's not a good look for us. But it shows that Biden he still holds strongly to his bear hug support of Netanyahu. He's not backing off of that. If it had been Harris, and it might have been a bit different. Her view of Netanyahu and of what was happening in Gaza was a bit more to the left where Biden was. But we'll have to see what what he's going to do in terms of Gaza, Netanyahu. We know that those two are close. It's a relationship that is flourished during Trump's first term. So I think we're going to see strong support coming from Biden, and including this kind of operation at the UN Security Council, where we would be isolated and face contempt from the world because of our votes. But I think that's where Trump's going to be, and Netanyahu knows he's got a friend in the White House.
All right, so interesting to get your perspective, Jim Townsend.